Welcome to the Stairway to Heaven. We're coming to you bringing insights into the ever-changing high-frequency currents now bathing the planet and their effect on us all. The source of vital information for the evolving human being. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Empowered by Earth Connection. The sun rises and sets as the Earth spins. The seasons come and go as she wobbles on her axis. No 2 days or seasons are ever the same, yet they've cycled without fail for millennia, ever enduring. There's nothing new under the sun, yet everything renews itself. As long as humans remained in sync with these cycles and with the way life works, they remained in balance and renewed also. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, many humans decided they had a better idea. Why take your share in its season when you can have it all? In our greed and narcissism, we divorced ourselves from the earth, left the cycle of life, and created our own reality of steel, concrete, electronics, planes, trains, and automobiles. Now, I like my comfort as much as the next guy, but it's impossible to look around and not realize we've ridden this particular horse as far as it can go. We're now in a social, economic, and environmental crisis with no good solutions in sight. The earth struggles under the strain of our artificial lifestyles, as do all things living upon her surface and below, including human beings. From air pollution to fracking, EMFs, miles of plastic in the ocean, and species going extinct daily, the damage from our short-sightedness is glaringly obvious. It's becoming clear that unless we return to some semblance of balance, our days are numbered. This imbalance has gone on for generations. Many of us are clueless as to what it means to be in balance. Ironically, while we become increasingly disconnected, our health, well-being, personal power, wisdom, relationship to all that is dependent upon a solid, grounded earth alignment. How can we find our path home to all of our relations and live in balance once again? How can we reconnect with the earth and through her the power of the universe? Where can we find the knowledge and guidance we need to live in synchronistic harmony and the natural power to be found therein? To achieve this seemingly Herculean undertaking, it's necessary to understand more about the nature of Earth and galactic connection as it relates to human beings. Bear with me while I briefly wax scientific. Let's start with the concept of the torus. By definition, a torus is a surface generated by a closed curve, rotating around but never intersecting or containing a vertical axis in its own plane. There is much speculation that under the right circumstances, toroidal fields have the potential of perpetual motion. The galaxies, stars, and all the planets each spin, creating an electromagnetic field around their surface. These electromagnetic fields are in the form of tori and extend well beyond the body creating them, interfacing with other heavenly bodies. Everywhere the electromagnetic field of one body crosses another, crossover points, or, as NASA refers to them, X-points, are created. Information in the form of frequency is exchanged at these X-points and transmitted back to the bodies that created the original field, be they a planet, a sun, or any number of other things. Closer to home, as the Earth spins on her axis and around her iron core, she also creates an electromagnetic field, as does our sun. The human heart pumps blood in a spiral configuration. The blood contains red blood cells, which contain iron. This creates the toroidal or electromagnetic field around the human body. The electromagnetic field of the human body interfaces with that of the Earth. The Earth interacts with the sun and other planets, and the sun with the galaxy. This is the basis behind astrological influences, but that's a topic for another episode. There's a constant influx of frequency information traveling back and forth from the various X-points. This information enables everything to remain in balance with everything else and the fluctuating nature of the universe, the circle of life. As far back as we have recorded history, humans have had ceremonies and practices designed to rebalance in order to maintain this connection. Massive, intricate structures were built, such as Stonehenge, the pyramids, and the mounds, that use the rising sun on the spring equinox to orient the people to the current cycles every year. This was achieved by performing a ceremony at each time on the spring equinox, as measured by the position of the sun in relationship to the structures. Even our present-day holidays originated with these practices and to this day fall on or close to the equinoxes and solstices. The purpose of these ceremonies was to maintain connection with the Earth and galactic forces and be supported by them. As long as we remain in balance with the Earth, we remain in balance with life and all that is. When in sync with these cycles, we're going with the flow and supported by it. When we lose connection with the cycles of life, we become out of balance. This results in running against the flow, and eventually we're worn down by it. After all, it is much larger than we are. The further out of balance we become, the more drag is created and the less power available to us. Trust me, that's a losing situation. The very situation we humans now find ourselves, to our extreme detriment. In times past, people lived more directly with the Earth and were more aware of her cycles. We learned when to plant, when to tend, when to harvest, and when to compost for the next season. These patterns not only apply to the planting cycle, but also impact everything we do or wish to create. Doing things in their season guaranteed we were working with, rather than against, the forces of nature. It's clear we cannot go back to indigenous ways, all of us living directly off the land and more directly exposed to the cycles. There are now way too many of us to be sustained in that way. So how do we correct the imbalance at this late date? There are many things we can do to reconnect with the natural world that draw on ancient principles but can be applied in modern times. None of us can do all of them, but all of us can do some of them, and the more we manage to do, the more balanced we become. The more balanced we are with life, the more we are supported by it, and the more we prosper. There is an ebb and flow to life. When attuned to this ebb and flow, we end up being in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing to allow us to manifest and thrive. Let's start with light. Natural light is a frequency of the universe and necessary for life. It would be lovely if we could all live out under the sky, basking in the sunlight, moonlight, and starlight, going to bed with the darkness and getting up with the sun. However, that's not currently possible. We have artificial lights, closed-in structures, and imposed schedules that have nothing to do with the natural cycles. To compensate, we can build routines to support us, even in our artificial environments. The Earth turns. As she does, day and night are created. We can align to the Earth's spin through orientation to the time of day. Make the effort to watch the sun rise and set. Ideally, have your bedroom in a room with a window facing east. Leave the blinds open so that the sun can shine as it rises, waking you up with its light. Shut off the TV and sit close to a westerly window in the evening to enjoy the sunset. Take note of how the shadows change and fall differently with each season. Weather and circumstances permitting, spend time outdoors whenever possible. Even the colors of the sunrise and the sunset help us rebalance to life on many levels. Start each day with the intent to live your life in a more balanced and natural way. End each day in gratitude for the natural beauty that you experienced. Experience the natural world with all of our senses also increases our earth alignment. When possible, forego the gym for a walk or a jog in nature. Shut off the media and listen to the wind. Expose yourself to birdsong and other natural sounds. Sit by a body of water and really immerse yourself in the experience. Walk barefoot. Take time observing the clouds. All of this may seem frivolous, but do enough of it and it will reconnect you to life. An important concept observed by all indigenous peoples is that of the cardinal directions. By staying oriented to the directions, we realign ourselves with the electromagnetic field of the Earth. Procure a magnetic compass and set up a representation of the 4 directions in your home and office. Some people build an altar for this purpose. It helps to know which direction the buildings are oriented. Spend some time exploring the land around your home and office so you know what lies in each direction. You can place a stone in each of the directions in your yard, coordinating the colors with the directions. You can use yellow for east, red for south, black for west, and white for north. Every day, spend a little time standing facing each of the directions at the corresponding time of day. East at sunrise, south at midday, west at sunset, and north at night. If you keep your compass on your person, you can do this regardless of where you are. It's nice to set up permanent representations of the directions to orient yourself in the spaces you occupy most often. As the Earth wobbles on her axis, the seasons are created. Observing the natural seasons also increases our Earth alignment. Mark on your calendar when the equinoxes and solstices fall and observe them. You can research what each season supports and on that day set your intent accordingly. For example, I might focus on what I wish to plant in my life on the spring equinox. Pay attention to what needs tending on the summer solstice. Observe what's ready to harvest on the fall equinox, and give gratitude and let go of what no longer serves on the winter solstice. Food sustains our bodies and comes from the earth. We are what we eat, and furthermore, we are what we ate. Our food choices, the closer we stay to the way things present in nature, before humans got their grubby little hands on it, the better. Processed food takes it out of the natural order and kills and distorts it. You can't go wrong by ditching processed chemicalized food altogether. Ingesting food that's non-GMO, organically grown, harvested when ripe, grown locally, and consumed in its season, realigns our bodies with nature and our time and place within it. It's also much more easily digested and absorbed. Things we cannot readily digest or absorb must be stored in fat. The closer things are to the way they presented in nature, the more easily absorbed. Absorbable food takes less to sustain us and contributes less to weight gain. The more alive and unprocessed our food, the higher frequency and the less frequency required to assimilate it. There is a point where the processed chemicalized, preserved food we consume takes more energy to assimilate and detox than we gain from eating it. We think we live in human bodies, but truth be told, less than 10% of our cells are human. The rest belong to symbiotic organisms that make up the community comprising the human body. The microbiome is just starting to be recognized as paramount to human balance and therefore health. The microbiome is also a major component of our immune system. Whole cultured foods support the microbiome. Antibiotics kill much of it, causing an imbalance in what remains. As an example, an overgrowth of candida is responsible for many illnesses today, including malabsorption, irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue. Be mindful that any animal products you consume come from grass-raised, grass-finished, and humanely handled sources. If you eat meat from traumatized animals, you're consuming trauma. If the animal was fed GMO grains, antibiotics, and hormones, you're incorporating the same imbalanced substance into your system, contributing to your own imbalance and that of your microbiome. Much of our problems began when we started viewing ourselves as something separate from our environment, losing sight of our relationship to the whole. We're like cells in the body of creation. When human cells become out of balance, our white blood cells destroy them. When there are more imbalanced disease cells than the body can mitigate, we become cancerous. At this point, humanity has become a cancer on the face of the earth, distorted, not participating in the balance and therefore the well-being of the whole. We're mutating out of control, consuming much and producing toxic waste. We need to return to the cycle of life before life corrects itself by eliminating the cancer we've become. Alignment with the whole is paramount to survival. The solution is in our hands. By following the practices I've outlined, we can start to live more consciously and purposefully, in cooperation and coordination with the way life works. In so doing, everything we do will be enhanced. Soon, we'll discover and begin to correct other places where we're not in alignment with life. The day we start to see the natural world, rather than the media, as a source of truth and guidance, we'll be well on our way to winning the battle and re-entering the circle of life. Thank you for joining me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on the Stairway to Heaven, where we provide updates on the energetic currents facilitating our evolution into conscious, powerful co-creators. Until next time, may you be blessed on your sacred path to wholeness. We are here. The time is now.